Hello, beautiful people. It is that time, almost that close in time of Halloween. I'm so excited. And talking with my soul sister, dear friend, Mary. And we are going to talk about facing fears. And so Mary just arrived, and we're going to have her on, and we're going to jump right into it. Let's see, did I get him? Oh, there we go.
Hi,
Yeah.
gorgeous.
Hello. Yay.
Happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween. This is exciting.
Yeah, so with the exception of my 20-pound false eyelashes, I didn't add.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I was attempting to do the eye the eye of Horus on my eye,
Yeah.
but I need liquid eyeliner and it was taking a lot of time, which is why I was kind of running behind. So I was like, you know what? I'll save that for Halloween. This is great.
You look beautiful. That looks awesome. I love it.
Yeah. So welcome everyone. And if you're watching the replay, hello, happy Halloween to all of you. Mary and I are going to have a chat around this invitation of Halloween. And basically, this is kind of an extension of a conversation that we had earlier in the day in regard to facing fears. And Mary's always been a great support for me. And I know many others of really holding space. And I just, I had to reach out to her this morning because I was in a spiral of anxiety. And yeah, it was really coming from so many things. But as I mentioned in my story, so some of you may or may not see it, but I have been having a series of nightmares that started pretty much right before the full moon in Taurus, this eclipse, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's been 3 nights of a series of um, this nightmare. And yeah, I felt initially my instinct was like not to write them, to ignore them, don't talk about it, while I knew what the root of the issue was, right? And so talking to Mary allowed me to face this fear and to be able to, after we got off the phone conversation, or before I messaged you to chat, to call me, I started writing one of the dreams from 2 nights ago. Then after we had our conversation, I wrote down the rest of the dreams, and all of it was basically surrounding my own personal fear. And so then going into the research and the studies of Halloween, the history of Halloween, and just the whole theme and vibe, it was presented, or what really clicked was that this is an annual invitation for us to really face our fears, also, embrace the element of, you could say, the supernatural, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's fears and supernatural are the two main themes, I guess, or energies present within Halloween, that there's some sort of like stickiness, some sort of tension around those topics. And, we'll see it in the Christian community, or people that don't really like Halloween, is because it brings forth like the things that have been suppressed, right? Or just the capability of, even, it doesn't have to be something bad, but it could also be, on the flip side, just your own spiritual power and ability to connect with divine, to connect with spirit within and without, right? And the veil is thin around this time. And so this conversation, what inspired this conversation was our chat around connecting with the divine, and really the power of that allows us to face those fears, those moments of uncertainty, and really it shifts the vibration, it shifts our perspective of what is around us. So I wanted to touch a bit on that. Did you have anything you wanted to, just bounce off that or add?
And no, I think you pretty much covered it all, but it really just, it goes back to the usual conversation of our perception. The
Mm-hmm.
is it, and how are we talking to ourselves, right? At that moment of those fears. Are we going to be putting ourselves under that big spotlight and interrogating ourselves, or are we going to have gentler conversations? And those gentle conversations do land exactly what you're saying, having those conversations with divine, remembering that that's your go-to.
Right. Yeah. So I guess we can just jump right in it. Another thing that really inspired this conversation, or one of the things that I just love about Mary, or something that she's taught me that wasn't actual, like, here's the thing, do this. It was just in our conversations with each other and in our shares. I really paid attention to the fact that whenever there's something coming up for you, like you feel uncomfortable, or there's uncertainty, or there's just something, say, that can, lean you into spiraling in some sort of way, you have, in that moment, like, stop what you're doing and you have a conversation with God or with the divine that helps you to navigate. Even if you don't know what to ask, like, there's something off about this situation. So how do I move through it? Or what is there here that I need to know? What am I not paying attention to? And it was through also your incredible manifestations of so many things, of your healing, of your prosperity, that really, helped me, or just seeing that, being a witness of that, helped me to start to implement that in my own daily life. And that has been powerful. So I guess we can talk a little bit about that as a way to face your fears. And for those of you watching the live, definitely feel free to ask any questions in regard to, just sharing a fear. Maybe there's something coming up for you now. It's a fear that you want to get out of your head and put into the space so we can clear it together. Definitely feel free to drop that there. Of course, if you have any comments or questions, feel free to share what is around this whole annual invitation to face our fears within, uncertainty and just any moment in time.
Okay, so why don't we ground before we continue?
Oh yeah, let's do that. Absolutely.
Let's do that.
Okay, right or left?
I'm going left under, and I mean right under,
Okay.
and then
Right leg cross.
yes. Sorry, I'm just working on where it's tense for me.
Right.
And I'm going to turn my head to the left and body to the right, and in through the mouth 3 times. And thank you for that, because with some of those points that you highlighted, one of the inserts that I want to put in here is that it's a constant conversation, even for myself, to remember that I am forever a student of this life. So even what I'm sharing, it's not like, oh, guess what? This happened and I've manifested it, and here it is in a little candy wrapper, and you know what? Sign up to this and I can show you how to do it. It's more a conversation of, it gets really flippin' uncomfortable. It gets really scary in the midst of it. And it's what resources and what is it that, like, we've latched on to, and, how to be with it. Because I find that within my humanity, on many occasions, I've had tendencies to become almost codependent on certain things. And I had to sort of pedal back with respect to how to approach things, right? So one of the things that I remember teaching myself is that no matter what came across, regardless of what my thoughts were around it, I had to learn how to be okay with what was occurring, right? Now, in the past, and even now, I'm still work in progress. There was always, whenever any kind of uncomfortable energies came my way, there's always either a panic button or a spiraling thing that used to automatically go off, right? And then most recently with the astrology lineups, I said, okay, we're divorcing that panic button,
Mm-hmm.
and we are downloading a new upgrade of a reset button instead. And it has really begun to like create a harmony. And actually, what I haven't shared, maybe I did share briefly while I was throwing you some notes there, but even I took stock of how I'm reacting in my live life, right? So on my way to go pick up Marina, I went to go to the drive-through because she had told me she was freezing all day at work. I go to press down my button to roll down my window, and the whole thing sounded like it was going to like crash on me. So all of a sudden I see that it's like warped, it's fallen out of alignment.
Yeah.
So understand that my natural default used to be, and I could feel it at the time, and thank God for this program that we found with the Human Garage, that I've dealt with a lot of my emotions. And I know that there's a lot more work to do because we're organic energy, hence the everlasting, infinite energetic life that we're promised type of thing, right? So what I'm noticing is that my nervous system didn't react in the way that it used to with the panic button, because it's always that,
Mm.
the thoughts that, oh my God, and if this breaks, and then, where am I going to get the funds? But I can't even mimic that language anymore, because now instead what I caught myself doing is like, I looked at it and I'm like, okay, and I laughed my ass off. I was just laughing. I'm like, what am I going to do right now? Let me just get this tea and coffee, go pick up my daughter, and then bring it back type of thing. So, but speaking around the whole like dealing with the fears and everything, I had, again, my own holy cow moment last Saturday when I had that embrace that created whatever that havoc was. It's still a mystery to me. And when I go to, again, connect in with divine, then I'm not surprised that the things that occurred to me. So what I came into alignment with was that in the moment, because again, the pain that surfaced in the evening of when that embrace created that tender spot, my old mindset decided to insert itself. So it's not until Mary speaks to and connects to divine and saying, okay, what is this here?
Mm-hmm.
And I swear to God, I went from, like, how you go into shock where your teeth are tremoring and everything like that. And that's when the pain has peaked so much that it's natural for the body to be integrating whatever the heck is going on type of thing, because it's reacting. Everything is like cause and effect, right? So whatever was occurring, it was occurring for me, right? But in the eye of the storm, you still have to deal with your own personal humanity, your own personal inheritance of what you've brought over, of what conditioning that you've come from, right? And it's heightening that awareness. And then instead of having an interrogative conversation to spiral you into the abyss of where you don't want to go, you start to look at it from a different perspective, and then you just summons in that of which you've connected with the most. And it could be angels, or it could be whatever it is. Some people will have their own thing. And for me, at that moment, at that primal moment, it was literally right hand over heart and left hand on head. And I just zoned in to the Human Garage team, that I felt the need to like, just so I even excused myself and apologized to them, because I felt like I literally invaded your energetic field because I was in that much of a panic. And,
Mm-hmm.
and then my reveal was what was there for me. So that's where we go into like, okay, so if the emotion of fear is coming, why is that fear there? What is it meaning for you?
Mm-hmm.
And for me, what surfaced that I needed to get through and to have another look at was that fear of my childhood abandonment issues, that I recalled the memory of being taken away from mom now that I know that I'm an adult, and I was being wheeled in to go and get my tonsils out. But in my 3-year-old mind, I'm confused as heck, because these strangers and I'm surrounded by high cribs at that point when there were silver metal bars, and mom was at one end of the hallway, and I couldn't wrap my head around why it was that she wasn't coming for me or fighting for me or whatever, right? So all of these emotions, and especially while everything is so like transparent around this time, I'm not surprised that we can get a little bit more stimulated with heightened fears in and around this time, because we will be more connected. We're naturally connected whether we know it or not.
Mm-hmm.
So this is just
Yeah.
like really just an invitation to just become more comfortable with the uncomfortable.
Yeah. And one of the things you and I were talking about earlier, we're both in the healing journey and in the process of really sitting with our fears, but even more so our emotions and where they show up in the body. And also, in addition to that, we have been doing fascial maneuvers to basically detox, to reset, to release any stress, any trauma that has stored itself within the tissues. And one of the things we've learned is that within that process, the things coming up, whether it comes up through, in my case, through your dreams or through physical manifestations within your body, whether something's off or you have a pain point physically within your body, if you are doing the work, if you are doing the work physically and also spiritually and emotionally, that's natural for that to come up. And it's the process of detox.
Mm-hmm.
And the conversations with divine, with spirit, or it could be your higher self, your ancestors, your spirit guides, those daily check-ins and conversations is what helps us to integrate what is coming up, to integrate the healing, and also to trust. And that's one of the things that, again, I've watched you and learned from you, not only when it comes to fears, but even when it comes to manifestation. I have learned to every day just have a conversation with divine, have a and it started out really during the summer. When I was really doing my 28-day ritual, which kind of spawned from the 28-day reset with Human Garage. Then it was the 28-day ritual. Then it turned into, or transformed into, the 28-day dream work practice, which I'm facilitating with the group now.
And now you have the 21-day
But I've been doing
affirmations.
28 days just to anchor it in. It's like the cycle of the moon. It's so beautiful. And that's the cycle. That's a connection with nature and a connection with God. But what I'm saying here is that, yeah, what am I saying? I'm losing my train of thought here. Oh, so I started with uh
You
yes.
were impressed with the manifestations, and if I think
Right.
where you're going is,
Oh, yes. Okay. So it was through the 28-day process, I started to wake up. One part of the ritual was to wake up and connect with my higher self, have a meeting with my higher self, to sit and have an agreement that we're going to co-create together. We're integrating that divine intelligence, that consciousness that is divine,
mm-hmm,
right? And so I had a ritual of waking up every morning and having that meeting.
mm-hmm.
And naturally, like anything, like routines, they tend to fall off. But the key is, when you feel yourself in those sticky moments, in those places where either you're in fear, your anxiety is coming up again, or maybe something's like you're detoxing and it's a lot to handle, go back into that constant connection with divine, with your higher self, with your spirit guides, right? And
So I'm
every,
thinking that's why you
yeah,
asked me how many times a day I connect with
I
divine.
literally did. I was like, wait, 'cause, yeah, like, I'm
So,
always,
and what was my answer? That there isn't a moment
yeah, all
that
day.
I don't go without. So yeah, like
Yeah.
for me, and I'm glad that you actually brought that to surface, because a lot of times, and I remember when I first put my toe in water with respect to energy healing and stuff like that, I had to like scratch my head and my butt, because certain people react a certain way because of, like, that's why I said don't get so codependent on something. And at that time I was going to like to learn about crystals, and this one young girl came and like, oh, I forgot this crystal, and it was like the end of the world. No, in the same way that, you know, people might ask me, how much time do you spend on your healing or on yourself? Well, there isn't a moment that doesn't go by that it's not invested in me. And I'm sorry that that sounds a little selfish. And that's the way that my relationship is with connecting with divine. So even if in my experience of what we call life, I get pissed off because something's going sideways or something, the first thing I'm inviting us to do is be with whatever emotion is there, because we have to muster the courage to stand in it and see what's there. And it doesn't have to be a whole big flamboyant thing. So when I'm connecting with divine, am I laying out the red carpet and doing the holy grail or whatever and lighting this and lighting that? No. Sometimes I'm doing dishes. I extend my ear that I hear something's gone upside down for me, and I literally look up to God and I'm like, really? We're back here again? And I'm having loud conversations with God. Like, I mean, if somebody came in as I'm going ahead and doing this, I'm sure that the white jackets would come for me. I swear to God. And having said that, like with respect to referencing your manifestations, I've taken the same workshops everybody's run to. Come here, do this, do that, and it didn't work. And the minute that I came to a space in my life that here I am pursuing my physical health, I'm getting it, I'm receiving it. I asked for it though, and I asked for it with conviction. And it got delivered once I surrendered myself to him and said that I am in service of him. Mm-hmm. So now all of a sudden, I am watching.
Oh, so that's, yeah.
I am watching and being witness to my own journey, and I'm still very much jaw dropped about the reveals of my physical health, the reveals that literally, you know, I've gone through certain complications with respect to the systems that are unjust and unfair. So like as a single parent, the system did not work in my favor. They did not do their job well with respect to dotting their I's and crossing their T's with what it was in arrears. And now a simple prayer is now showering me with what is just.
Yeah.
So it's a windfall.
Yeah,
and occurring with a momentum that's almost as if like somewhere along the line on this healing, I've broke a seal.
And this is what you said is golden. And I want to highlight this for those of the people watching and that will watch the replay, is that, so if you're just joining, we're talking about being in the act of facing fears and uncertainty. And not, of course, I feel this is very highlighted during Halloween time, right? The thinning of the veil. Mm-hmm. We're stepping into darkness, and everything around us, it is embracing this theme and tone of like the darkness, of heaviness, of spirits, of demons, of shadow, of nightmares, right? And so naturally that vibration is, you know, it's, even if it's high, it's still in our awareness and our experience. And so one of the ways that Mary and I approach facing fears, as we've been discussing, is through having constant conversations with divine, with God, with your higher self, spirit guides, and the like. And what was key that Mary just said that I want to really highlight is that, one, she's always asking, and that's a big thing that her and we should probably touch on, that is like feeling feeling the right or the ability to ask, right? Not feeling shameful, not feeling like you're
worthy.
Worthy.
In our humanity, for me, it always went off of, well, God has so much to do. Why would I sit there and disturb him with this little minuscule thing I got to do?
Right. So
but I'm worth it too.
That we're worth it. But even more importantly, everything that Mary is asking, her desire, the root of even her being at this point is to be in a contribution of, you can complete that, right? Because I don't want to speak for you, but for me, it's to be within my purpose, to be of contribution to
be of service,
evolution, of society, of the whole entire planet, raising that vibration of the planet just by being authentic, being compassionate, being kind, being true, being love, and just being, right? Just being who it is that we truly are. And
Yeah, it sort of tags like the conversation that we had the other day as well, with respect to, like, for me getting comfortable even with the gifts of like being able to feel all of this, right? Like I wasn't able to speak this freely of it before, right? Now I'm getting more comfortable because there's more of us around. And there's this faint, like, you know, the old default that wants to try and self-judge as to, oh, who's watching, who's going to think what type of thing. But I don't really give a flying cahoots anymore. Like,
right.
this is what it is. And where was I going with this? Now I lost my train of thought. It was going to be a good one too. It'll come
It'll
back. Never mind.
come back. But yeah, so that is really key, is what is at the core of your asking? What is at the core of your conversations, even if you're asking for healing, even if you're asking for clarity? And within everything that we do at this point is in contribution of ourselves and also of humanity, right?
I
Okay.
remember the gifts that we've been given.
Yes.
They're our gifts. We never received an invoice for it. They were gifted to us so that we are in contribution of one another. This is what being love your brothers and sisters is all about. So we can help rise each other up that way. And I know that a lot of people are going to get their knickers in a knot with what I just said, especially like I'm an entrepreneur all the way. I have been an entrepreneur all my life. And what I'm coming to understand based on the downloads that I'm getting is that the gifts that we have, yes, I'm going to echo what I just said. And for those that are not ready to move at full speed ahead in the way that those that have been working diligently for numerous years, we will be the guides, and it will be of our service for those that are needing extra guidance, right? This is like doing something with conviction and great intention. So do I put I'll give like a really laid back third dimensional example, right? If I put myself on the treadmill, then I'm going to get the feedback on it. But if I throw my dog on the treadmill and expect that I'm going to get, no, it's not going to work. You have to put the work in.
Mm-hmm.
Just like when someone is looking for healing, in the same way that it just occurred before I came on here, my neighbor's like, oh, my daughter-in-law's son is got so much phlegm. She's witnessing she's baffled that she's witnessing whatever healing that I'm receiving, but she's speaking to me in tongues as if I'm like JC and I'm going to rise my hands and heal them. No, I says, you need to invest in yourself. You need to go to do your research. You need to go and check in and see what that means for you. I
Yeah.
said, I am a student of life before I am going to be sharing this from an educator kind of level. And I'm not even sharing it as an educator. I'm just sharing it like the neighborly love that it is. You know what? Hey, I saw a great movie. You should go see it. It's here. You know what I mean? Hey, I got this gift. I found this reveal. It came really easy to me if you do XYZ. Now, if it resonates with you, great, run with it. And if it does, then maybe there's another conversation that needs to be had. But for me, what occurred with me with this little delay here, I'm not surprised because a couple of days prior to it, I had done some really intense balancing of my masculine and feminine energies. So for that to come together, and at a time here where we are that we've had the full moon and we're in the Scorpio season and so on and so forth, it all made sense once I removed the fear factor and once I was able to have that tranquil conversation and be quiet enough within my mind and within my nervous system to be able to hear divine's voice.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
it's how you show up, almost
Right.
like the conversation between making love and just getting it
But
on. You know what I
also,
mean?
right. And I think that's an important point that you make, because you've had a lot of experience, a lot of practice with listening to your own intuition, being able to hear God, being able to hear spirit, and paying attention to synchronicities and such, where you can just drop in and have these conversations like just at the drop of a dime, right? And what I've learned in my experience is that just thinking about when I first started even this journey and even getting into constant communication, I had to initially basically make it, I had to drop into, not necessarily always in meditation, but I had to separate myself from things around, right? Maybe come into the room, or maybe just have a moment to check in with myself before, just kind of like a subtle raising of my vibration for me personally, so I can hear, right? So I can hear and with clarity and not miss what it is that I'm asking for, or just be very, you know, in the moment, right? And so it's going to be different for everybody, and that's why doing it in the morning and at night works for me, and it's a good place to start. Once you begin to master that and get into the flow, you know, you can do it at any point, right?
Yeah, but we also have to remember that we got to put ourselves first, right?
Right.
And so, like, what have you vowed to yourself? And especially as women, we tend to lose ourselves, especially if we have children and stuff like that, that we're catering to this and catering to that. But it's like that whole thing of, do I sit down? What is my life contract to self? What would I like to create for myself? And how am I holding myself accountable for that?
Right.
And then honoring your own integrity around it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, are you saying what you mean, and do you mean what you say? And do we know what we really want? And do we keep ourselves imprisoned if once we get to wherever it is that we're going, we decide, oh, I thought I wanted this, now I'm changing my mind. Some of us really beat ourselves up. Why? Why, when we're just complementing our organic energies? We have the right to be able to change our mind.
Mm-hmm.
We have the right to be able to shift and mold. This is literally what life is all about.
Yeah.
And right now, I know that big thing, I don't know what's coming, and I know that there are big things coming.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm not going to sit there and script it. I know what I would like to happen, but I also know that I've also been guilty of dreaming too small.
Mm-hmm. That's a big one
Because
too.
a lot of the things that, like, as you're saying, a lot of the things that I was manifesting, there were things that could have been misunderstood as barriers. And then I was like, really, God, you gave me the sign, yes here, yes here, yes here, and now this is happening. Are you really going to not have this occur because of this? Something
Mm-hmm.
has. And then all of a sudden, with that, within that like, it's not, again, it's not like the traditional our father type of thing. I really have some really delicious conversations as if it's my BFF, which it is, because it's my higher self.
Right.
And I'm not afraid to be angry.
Yeah.
And that's important.
No, that really is important, because I I definitely felt that. Full disclosure, I felt that in my body, of being angry with spirit, or I at least caught my attention. I was like, ugh, I would never. And this is interesting because it I reflect back onto my relationship with my parents, where I uphold this certain, or I like to uphold this certain, I guess, appearance of, I don't know, I just don't curse around my mother. Like, it's really weird. Every so often I do. And it's not necessarily perfectionism, but there's just, I don't know. I don't know what it is. So it's like that kind of trickled into having the conversations with divine and being raw and real, and thinking about it, and or doing it in a way where it's like how I just talked to you, right? And
Yeah.
it's like, even if I'm saying, like there was one moment where you were holding space and walking me through something that was coming up. I think it was regarding money or something, or just like, or my manifestations. I'm like, I'm doing all the things, like, and I was really upset because you mentioned, you were like, do your gratitude, do this. And I'm like, I'm doing, I was like, I'm doing this. And I was like so frustrated, not at you, but at the situation. And it was just like, and so in this whole entire moment of you saying that, just brought forth that feeling, that reflection, that experience, and being in the moment, and kind of bringing it all full circle where, again, we are human, right? And we are allowed to feel these emotions. They're here for a reason, right? And once we accept and also surrender and feel, then what I've even experienced, and going back to what I originally mentioned as far as my nightmares and things of that nature, with the nightmares, even once you do not suppress, once you really face what's coming forth in those nightmares, you face it and you essentially resolve it, integrate whatever is necessary for you to heal through that. Once you do it, they tend to stop, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's how it's been an experience with, just being present with my emotions. It's like once I sit with the anger, the frustration, the anxiety, whatever it is, and just see it for what it is.
But if nightmares are creeping up into your subconscious mind, it just tells me that you're allowing them to overstay their welcome in your head while you're awake.
Well, yeah, it is. It's definitely so. It's almost, to me, it's like a shock value in the dreams. Like I'm basically, so what was coming up, and not getting into the details because I'm going to save that for my dream circle. But
Yeah.
essentially, what was coming forth was um, my fears of what could happen in real life, and my fears of what could happen in real life happened in the dream, which caused anxiety attack, which caused panic, which caused more anxiety in the waking life. And it's like, through our conversation earlier today, addressing that and just sitting with it, and coming back to a place of empowerment, I was able to, like, I feel like I've integrated. I'm sure this is something that's been ongoing since, and it basically, I feel it stems from losing my grandmother the way I did, and not fully understanding that situation. It's all linked to that. It's all linked to health and wellness and death, which is really a big part of the Halloween, taboo, or not Halloween taboo, but one of the things that we might collectively be afraid of, right? That period of transformation, because it is.
Absolutely.
Right. And so through that experience, we'll see if I continue to have these nightmares, right? But yeah, you have to deal with it
But
in
you
your
have to be real and raw, because again, my breaking point with respect to getting comfortable with being, as I've said, angry with God, right? It was when I was in a really yuck place with my lack of well-being, and I will not forget using this vocabulary with my kids. It's like, I'm not losing my shit. I'm not depressed. I am sound with my mind. And if this is what life has for me, I really do not want any part of it. This is not what I want. So I think that once I started to, it's energy. We know how rubbing our hands together produces energy, but when you have all of your emotions that, instead of attacking in one part of your body, they start to live here, right where there's no more room for your soul, right? It's almost as if, like, if you don't do anything about it now, then it's over. So that's when I started to feel like I mustered some courage to speak to my faith with conviction.
mm-hmm.
That it was like, I'm a firm no here, and I'm willing to do XYZ, and this has to change.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, I can't be of service. And then it's like, it's just, as soon as it wasn't, again, don't misunderstand what I'm saying. I'm not saying have a badass attitude with divine. I'm just saying that you got to get comfortable with showing your true colors of your own vulnerability and your own fears.
Yeah.
If anything, that's who you should be having those conversations with. That, look, Heavenly Father, I don't have the strength right now. I don't have the words right now. Whatever it is that I need to see, whatever it is, I don't want to know it all. I'm already preoccupied here. Just bring me the information as I need it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's literally getting more selective with even your vocabulary. It's getting comfortable with the uncomfortable. And let me tell you, even when you go to do that whole flip from, let's say, the scarcity mindset and the worry mindset and all of that, and then all of a sudden you break the seal and things start happening for you, there's a lot to process there
Yep.
too,
Yeah.
because then you're forever pinching yourself. It's like, is it, where's the other shoe? When's it going to drop? Is this going to stop now? Is it going to run out? You know, like,
Mm-hmm.
and then you go and look for the breadcrumbs that are going to validate, no, this is here to stay. This is okay. And this is going to line up for this. And then you can sort of whoosh and finally exhale type of thing. But it doesn't come without any growing pains, that's for sure. So if anybody's out there sitting there like convincing people of otherwise, that, you know, we wiggle our nose like Bewitched and that's it, it's done. No, you have to put in your sweat equity.
Yeah.
And the thing that I invite people to do as much as possible is to literally reach out to whoever their go-to person is. I'm blessed to have you because, like, I mean, I have my holy shit moments too
Mm-hmm.
that I can't get through.
Mm-hmm.
And then being able to be as comfortable as we are in our union of throwing what we hear on the other side, because if I'm abducted by my emotions, I'm not thinking straight, but you can hear it because what I'm going through, you're not going to feel, and you can give me some good feedback, even if it might be raw, and I will receive it because it's exactly what I needed, and vice versa. But there's that understanding, and that's not happening outside in the real world
Yeah.
anymore. I find that I'm finding it willingly more that I'm being selective as to where and who it is that I associate with, because even when I'm going, let's say, back to life, back to reality, yeah, it doesn't work for me because the energy is different there.
Mm-hmm.
So even if I enjoyed doing something, all of a sudden, because the energies is out of alignment with whatever work that I've progressed into and evolved into, without any prejudices, there's nothing wrong with what's going on over there. It's just not for me. And
Mm-hmm.
that, once you start to escalate on your journey, that it all ties in: physical, spiritual, mental. It's all, hello, the triangle, you know, like it's all, it all comes together, it all speaks to each other. And once one starts to go in the right direction, I find that the triangle starts to behave like a wheel, that it'll get you going and going and going and going.
Yeah. So, do you have any, I think we kind of got clear into the point here. Do you have anything else that you want to, you know, share, or just maybe some other point of guidance with this? I know I was thinking to ask you this in my head, and you, as soon as I thought it, you started talking about about it. So I'm curious if, yeah, there's anything in addition to this.
Well, we can ask whoever's watching if they have any questions, or if they have any, like, I can share nuggets of different approaches that I've taken. I don't know what any one specific individual is working with, but with
Yeah.
respect to manifestation, I would say write it like it, you already own it. Speak it as often as you can. I love those affirmations that I referred you to, that are from Bob Proctor, because they're put in such a beautiful sequential order, beginning with the gratitude and then unfolding it. And he just
Yeah.
speaks into it so nicely. And having said that, whenever anyone invites you to something new, I know I resisted that, those very affirmations that I'm addicted to at this
Right.
point. I when I got first introduced to it, and don't judge yourself, because that's exactly how all of this happens. It's like you try it, it doesn't feel right. Okay, what's next? Do you try something else?
Mhm.
And guess what? You might go back and try the thing that didn't fit then, but it might fit now
Yeah.
because you had to do something before you could do that,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
So
that's
it's literally taking pulse of self on a regular, having good constructive conversations, stop lying to yourself, because I'm going to
mhm.
reference House here. House, remember the series House, the doctor,
Mhm.
yeah, well, he says we're all liars. So, and there's truth to that. So
Mhm.
speak your truth to yourself. The quicker that you can speak your truth to yourself and get those emotions of, for me, it's been like shame and so many other things that have come up, because when you have your aha moments, there's a lot there to take accountability for, because it could have been even in the innocence of the unknown. And I always reference, as you know, my grandfather, that he's like, okay, when stuff goes wrong here in the family, the fish reeks from the head. So what did I do or not do that contributed to this outcome? And now that we know of this situation, what can I do or not do to make it so that it's something that is a win-win for everybody? How can I support it? Right?
Mhm.
And I think that if we start talking in that kind of a tone with ourselves, that it might be a slower pace, but once it gets there, the momentum and the harmony of the unfolding is, put on your seatbelt, because it'll happen, and it'll happen fast.
Yeah.
Because for me, I always reference that I think it was by the time I got through my 28 day, the second time around, I said that I felt like Vampire Diaries, where I flipped my switch type of thing. And I haven't stopped since. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's just like one manifestation after another. And you get to witness it on a private note with respect to all the meltdowns I've had in happy tears. So as much as we sob over the stuff that doesn't work in our favor, there are so many things that have moved me right to the core that I just have no words to be able to share. And there's an uncertainty that you feel that if you do share it, people wouldn't even believe you anyways, because you can't make this stuff up, and it's real. It happens. It
It
works.
works, yeah. And that's the thing of just staying consistent and believing in yourself, believing in your divinity, believing in your connection to the divine.
Language.
Language is a big, big one because that's a reflection of, your own thoughts and your belief systems. And so,
Yep.
yeah, that is right on point. And once you get that awareness and once it really lands with you, you feel it, then it definitely becomes a belief system and your language changes, which is what the affirmations do help you with if you're consistent with that. And once, like you said, once that happens, once it sinks in, then it's like the momentum just builds. And it makes me think about Abraham Hicks, how she always mentioned the momentum and the vortex and just adding, to that energy and that frequency. And then it's a whole nother ball game of, oh my goodness, okay, what am I doing with all of these things that I've manifested, or just like this new way of being? Is it really real? And it is, and it's beautiful.
And to be giving, because like, I
Yeah.
mean, again, as your cup is getting filled, and especially if your promises to divine have been that, hey, my intent is to make it a win-win for everyone, that's the way that I practice it too. And I don't make it that I'm just like favoritizing one person. I take a pulse and I see who's in need right now.
Mm-hmm.
Where can I help? What can I contribute to?
Mm-hmm.
Do I need to hold space right now just because there's a few things that I need to be in awareness of, not worried about, but in awareness of? Let me dot my I's, cross my T's, and reprioritize how I can dispense of all of this greatness that's being showered upon me.
Yeah, Absolutely.
right? So it's just always paying it forward, gifting each other that way as best we can, being true to one another. I think that instead of talking about all of the stuff that goes sideways, that we need to just be the love, show up in the love, respect one another in the love, and know that the connectivity of divine and gets you a direct line rather than an operator in between. You know what I mean? Like back in the days.
Yeah.
You get that.
Exactly.
There's power in numbers, and there's also misery likes company. So
Yeah.
choose wisely.
Yeah.
Would you want to be glorious, or do you want to go and be, the whatever, the hen party there of
Yeah.
complaints? So it's just, for me, my energy is my currency, and I choose to dispense it wisely.
Mm-hmm.
And as for many, maybe it sounds selfish, but it's me first.
I love that. That makes me it points out when I'm seeing the comment when you said me first, I'm also seeing me astrology. And me astrology says, no questions, just walking and watching this beautiful moon in Jupiter. Thank you, goddesses. Thank you for being here. And I think the last thing I will add, and also shout out to Plexi Law 777. Thank you for your wonderful, wonderful comments. They've been a real treat. And I think the last thing I would like to add is whatever's coming up for you at this time, like whatever challenge, whether it's something really big or something, kind of small, just like a small annoyance or frustration, have a conversation with divine for 28 days every day. Like when you have that sacred moment, whenever you feel that you are, grounded and in a space where you can have a very intentional conversation around what is coming up for you, have that conversation and also start changing the way you speak right around that challenge or that pain point. Also, yes, create affirmations or find affirmations that is aligned with what you desire or the healing or the solution of that. Yourself open to receiving that guidance on a daily basis and be intentional with this for 28 days. And I guarantee you, you're gonna develop a habit of doing this all the time. And then you'll also receive that guidance and that clearing and the integration with whatever's coming up for you at this time.
I would like to, if you give blessings to it, to also open up the fact of the technique that we use,
Mm-hmm.
that we clear through the voice notes. So if you're comfortable with either one of us,
Mm-hmm.
we're really amazing that way, where like sometimes it doesn't require a video chat. We just, hey, this moment happened, I need to clear. If it's heavy, we give like a heads up for it type of thing or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And there's been a lot, I feel, growth there.
Oh,
And it's literally exchanging energies with one another, because again, if there are people that are watching this or rewatching the replay or whatever, it's not an ad, it's an offering. We're here.
yeah,
We're not gonna bite. It works. It helps you get over whatever
yeah,
speed bump is there in your day, and
exactly.
you can fly and be free to whatever it is that you want to go ahead and get on with, right? Because sometimes it's just a gentle conversation of a shift of perception
Mm-hmm.
that has you see something from a different side of things, and it's not as heavy as we thought.
Yeah.
I was like, you're right.
It's really
Okay.
that shift in perspective is
It's
major.
huge.
There's so many times where, I would send Mary a voice note and it's something so small, like a worry or like a what if situation. And Mary's response most times is like, okay, well, let's flip the perspective. What if all of this happens, like the good aspect of that? It's like I go to the anxiety, the pain point, the worry of like, oh my gosh, what if this thing doesn't work out and then I'm like, stuck in this position, or And then Mary's like, well, what if it all works out? And then you're like in this position and it's like all this momentum
And
and it's everything.
what is your misunderstanding anxiety? Because anxiety and excitement can kind of feel the same way within the
Right.
body, right?
But you're
So like,
so
I
used
mean,
to, I mean, at least for me, with my experience with anxiety, I'm so used to being in the space of anxiety, that side of the coin, where it's like that's my default, right? And it's like, oh no, this is actually something that's really exciting, but it's
mhm.
but I like connect with it as anxiety of like, oh my goodness, but what about this thing and what about that? And it's like, okay, but what if this?
Yeah,
So it
and just, you know, even that excitement can still spark the fear, but again, the fear is not the fear that you're scared to move forward. It's sort of like the the excitement, further excitement turned up of the fear of the unknown. Oh my God, what else is this gonna bring? You know, like,
yeah, yeah,
wow, like
yeah.
God forbid we should actually succeed in life. Poof, it's only something we've all wanted,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my goodness. This is a perfect place to end this chat. Oh my gosh. I feel the lightness and the joy and the love of this chat, especially here in this moment. I really am so grateful to have these conversations with you live because we have them all the time.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Well, thank you, thank you, thank you, and I look forward to whatever we're gonna create
Yeah.
next, because you know I'll be
Thank
back, right?
you. And happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween,
See you
everyone. Enjoy.
later.